Dear friends, we are all here today at the cusp of a very important moment. An idea was germinated. Perhaps the wheel was reinvented, and the concept of Bhuchetana was developed and implanted in the soils of Karnataka to benefit the farmers of Karnataka. The idea was a very fertile seed. The seed was good quality and the soil was also perhaps very fertile in the fields of Karnataka. And we have a success story on our hands. And success is a continuous story. Success is not just reaching one milestone, because life is a never-ending journey, and we need not just to reach one milestone, but we need to keep going, because change is the only constant and innovation is the only way to stay ahead and make a constant difference to the lives of people. So I'm glad, as our very distinguished Chief Secretary mentioned earlier, that we have made a great beginning, but we also realize that it was just a beginning and that there are a lot more that we collectively need to do. And that point has been acknowledged, and now with all our partners together, a better seed has been now developed, that is Bhuchetana Plus, wherein we integrate a lot more attributes, a lot more qualities and a lot more deliveries into the Bhuchetana. And I said cusp because we've crossed one milestone and now we are launching our journey to the next stage, wherein we hope and wherein with a lot of optimism we set our foot to achieve the next milestone in our journey to the top of the mountain, as our Chief Secretary said. So this is that moment wherein we acknowledge the good work done and we launch ourselves towards the next milestone that needs to be achieved. While at this cusp, it is also necessary for us to acknowledge the contributions made by all the partners, because any journey or any milestone cannot be reached by the efforts of any one person or just one group of people. It takes a lot of people, a lot of minds, a lot of ideas to come together to achieve something that is tangible and has an impact on a lot of lives. And that has been Bhuchetana. So on behalf of the government of Karnataka, along with our Chief Secretary, along with our Development Commissioner, along with the Department of Agriculture, I want to acknowledge the contribution made by ICRISAT. I want to thank, starting with the very committed, yet very humble, and a person who embodies the idea of service leadership, leader-servant, the idea that was given by our very own Gandhi, and a person who embodies it in the form of our Director General, Dr. Dar. and his very committed team. He has got put together a very excellent team to drive the ideals of the CG group as well as ICRISAT, Science with a Human Face, and the team under his leadership of Dr. Vani and the ever persistent Dr. Krishna and a great, very warm, very hospitable team as well. And your byline of Science with a Human Values is embodied in the very approach your team takes, Dr. Dar, not just to their work, but to their life also. And I've seen that in ICRISAT, and I want to acknowledge that as well. And it is a learning for a lot of us as well, that values are important in the work we do. And you have a very committed team of very experienced. We had the fortune of interacting with Dr. Gowda earlier, and had the good fortune to receive his hospitality again. And all the senior, very experienced, very committed people. And also, I must acknowledge that you also built in the next generation of future leaders in the field in a very young and dynamic team that you have built together. So the team of ICRISAT, I want to acknowledge their contribution on behalf of the government. I have just come in as the Agriculture Minister, and as we talk about the success of Bhuchetana, there is nothing that I as an individual can take credit for or claim anything in the process. The entire credit must go to our very distinguished Sri Ranganath ji, Sri Kaushik Mukherjee ji, and our Department of Agriculture and the Director of Agriculture, Dr. Bldg. It is this team that, despite many apprehensions and many resistances, believed in this idea and believed in this seed of an idea from the very beginning, and thought that this seed had a lot of good qualities in it, and believed that Karnataka was a fertile ground to sow this seed. And despite a lot of apprehensions, they pushed this idea through, and it is due to their efforts that we have a success story on our hands. So even though at sometimes there were other parts of our own government which were reluctant to try this, but I think Sri Ranganath ji and Kaushik Mukherjee ji were very firm to try this idea, and were very comprehensive and very definite in their support for this idea. So it is because of them that we have a success, and it is because of their commitment that we have today launching the Bhuchetana Plus. So this success, the credit for this must go to this team of people who have made this possible. And I, as the incumbent Agriculture Minister, must acknowledge the contributions that they have made for this innovation. And it is through such innovations that we can deliver better governance to the people and better quality of life to the farmers. And as we launch the Bhuchetana Plus, our next journey, we also welcome our new partners. We welcome Jindal Steel Company on board. We welcome their foundation on board. And I am also very touched that Sri Sajjan Jindal ji has made it possible not only to be a partner, but he has personally taken the time to be part of this initiative that shows the commitment that Jindal Steels and their foundation is bringing to this cause, and also the Coca-Cola Foundation. We live in an era of transnational companies. We must keep our minds open to work with partners who have good intentions. And in the form of Jindal Steel Foundation and the Coca-Cola Foundation, we have found people who are committed to this cause, who have the right intentions, and who want to share what they have benefited from the society back with the society. And that is something that we must again acknowledge and be thankful that we have people with us who want to give something back to the society. And as was mentioned, since trickle down is a very questionable proposition, we must reinvent the ways of trickle down as well. And this is one form of reinventing the idea of trickle down and giving something back to the society. Sir, we thank you both for partnering with us and welcome to our journey together. At this stage, I also want to thank our current partners, without whose support this project would not have also been a great success story. Along with the Department of Agriculture, of course, and the entire team of Department of Agriculture, we have the various universities of agriculture and horticulture who are also partners in this journey. We also have Digital Green, who is a partner in this process. We also have IFCO Kisan Sanchar Limited, who are also our partners. We have NUNC Systems. We have also Spin Logics. All of them have come together to make this Bhuchetana effective. And if we don't acknowledge their contributions, we would be doing a disservice to their support and to their commitment. While acknowledging your contributions, I also look forward to your greater contributions in the Bhuchetana Plus, because now we are just getting bigger and we are getting more ambitious. So those ambitions will be realized only with greater participation from all our partners together. Now, that's the journey so far, and the journey ahead only gets tougher. And as our Chief Secretary aptly illustrated, as you climb the mountain, it only gets tougher. And when the going gets tougher, tougher gets going, and there is no doubt we are going to get tougher as well with all your support. But before I come to Bhuchetana Plus, I want to share my general thoughts on agriculture. We are still somewhere very romantic, very sentimental when we talk about agriculture. We still tend to look at agriculture as a mode of subsistence. But as long as we romanticize it, we sentimentalize it, we are bound to look at it as just a subsistence activity that needs to be assisted, that needs to be handheld, with very limited scope for sustainability on its own. I feel personally that our objective should be to make agriculture sustainable and viable. And sustainability and viability are dependent on making agriculture a remunerative activity. The day agriculture becomes remunerative, it becomes viable, it becomes sustainable, and a lot of us can actually take a vacation there. But we need to think in that direction, is what I feel. We all talk about Green Revolution. Green Revolution was a great thing. It brought in a lot of impact, a lot of large-scale impact, no doubt about it. But there are gaps within Green Revolution as well. Even irrigated crops in our country, our productivity is only half of what we can actually achieve, which means we can effectively double our production and productivity within the scope that exists. But Green Revolution, as Dr. Dar pointed out, and I think our Chief Secretary pointed out, was limited to irrigated areas. And vast majority of Indian arable land is in the dry land agriculture, rain-fed or partially very minimally irrigated area. And Green Revolution did not have any similar impact on dry land agriculture. So in a sense, Green Revolution bypassed the entire dry land agriculture system. And only with marginal benefits along the way. And the scope for improvement in dry land agriculture is tremendous, I feel. Today, we are in a situation where the number of people dependent on agriculture is dropping in India. Nothing to be alarmed about. It's a good thing. It is bound to happen. It must happen in the long term. But there are also a lot of crises that the agriculture sector is facing. And as I mentioned earlier, the questions of viability of agriculture keep coming back to us time and again. And future food security issues are also there as India and China rapidly expand their per capita food consumption. There is a small possibility that they might become net importers of food. What is the impact that scenario is going to have on the world food security is something we must prepare ourselves for. While that is a larger concern that I as the agriculture minister am not seriously bothered about, or that's my second priority, my first priority is how to make farming more remunerative for the farmer and ensure my food security within my society. Now, the land is pretty much limited because we have expanded the land, encroached on many ecosystems and converted into agriculture land. Our irrigation potential is also by and large tapped. There is another maybe 6-7% more irrigation that we can expand. So more or less that is also fixed, land is fixed. Now we have also reached the end of price elasticity. Any further increase in the food prices is going to be not very pleasant. We have stretched our the bandwidth that was available in terms of price elasticity. So how do we make a difference? The land is fixed, prices are near about the top, and irrigation potential is also by and large tapped. And to add to this, our share of GDP, the agriculture share of GDP, which is currently about 16, 17, 18%, varying depending on the states, is only declining every year. Which means about 50% of the people are involved in agriculture. Their human productivity is valued only at about 16%. Which means that the remaining 40, 45, 50%, their productivity is valued at about 85%. So either those in the agriculture are not producing, they are not working at their optimal levels, or their production is not valued at what it should be valued. Now, if this is the situation, how are we going to change the situation? My sense is that with input factors almost having reached the maximum of input factors, if we don't rapidly increase productivity, of the agriculture sector, of per person involved in agriculture, of per acre of agriculture, of the irrigation facility that is available, of all input factors. If we don't increase the productivity levels, there is no way that we are going to make agriculture a viable activity. Every input factor must be optimized, and we are operating at a very suboptimal level on every input factor. As I said, 50% of the people are in agriculture, they are only contributing 16% to the GDP. All the crops we are producing, our productivity levels are half of what not the top end countries are producing, but even moderate competitive countries are producing, which means we can actually double productivity, which means if we can double, forget doubling. As I keep giving this example time and again almost every day, our rice productivity is about 28 quintals per acre, whereas the international standard is about 55 quintals per acre to 60 quintals per acre. Now, what the farmer wants is not necessarily increase in the price of paddy, but instead of growing 28 quintals, if we can increase it to maybe, now forget 50 quintals, if we can take it to even 38 quintals, the farmer then does not need increase in the price of paddy, because he is going to get that much more income in his hand, and suddenly agriculture becomes viable. And now these are things that are already being done around the world. We are not thinking of anything that does not already exist. Now, how are we going to achieve this? I believe Bhuchetana Plus is one solution in this direction, and I believe it is going to be a major solution in this direction of achieving that quantum leap in productivity. We have been having increases in productivity, not that there is none, but at the rate of 1%, 2% increase in productivity at this rate, I don't think we are ever going to get where we want to get. As long as we don't target substantial quantum leaps in productivity, I don't think farming will become viable, and I don't think we'll be doing any great service to the farmer if we don't do that. So I believe the productivity leap must happen, and I think that's the mandate for Bhuchetana Plus going forward. Now, when the Bhuchetana program started, it started with a limited mandate, and they keep telling me that at that point, we were in an ICU mode. It was a critical life support that we needed to give. Now it is out of ICU, it is in the ward. So now you need to look at how to revive the whole thing in a comprehensive manner. So if you want to do it a comprehensive manner, you need to look not just at what with the mandate you started. Now you need to look at the seed input. I believe, no matter I've been having this debate with all concerned, that we have some good seeds on. I don't think we have given good seeds to the farmer. Sorry for being very categorical in my statement, but I think the seeds must improve. Today, we are all aware of the labor situation in our country. There is declining labor availability for agriculture. The substitute for labor is mechanization. Now, mechanization solutions should become part of Bhuchetana Plus as well. So, a comprehensive intervention is required, not just micronutrients, not just soil mapping. Along with that, we have to make better seeds available. Along with that, we have to also provide alternative substitutes for declining availability of labor, so that dignity of agriculture, which is otherwise today still a very manual labor, and the dignity can be brought in as well, along with mechanization of agriculture. And overall, this very idea, I feel strongly, that should become a self-sustaining activity. You can keep pushing these things down the throats of the farmers, but as long as the farmers are not going to start appreciating this, then I don't know what value this is creating to the farmer. So somehow we have to introduce a recognition from the side of the farmer that yes, this is bringing value to my life, to the life of the farmer. There is a value addition that is happening from Bhuchetana. So as we push these things down, we must also realize that there must be a pull from the side of the farmer for all these interventions that we are trying to make. And that pull is the biggest certificate that the Bhuchetana Plus can give. We are all here, very distinguished people, we are all patting ourselves on the back, but ultimately if the farmer is going to say, yes, I have benefited from this, then that is the real ultimate certificate that this program can get. And if the farmer is benefited, then let me tell you, he or she is going to share a part of that benefit with you. And that, I believe, is the only real certification agency which will certify that your service is of value to the farmer. Hence, when I say sustainable, I am not trying to shirk from my responsibilities. When I say sustainable, I want to make sure that this is delivering tangible benefit to the farmer, and I believe the optimum barometer of the delta value you're adding to the farmer is if the farmer is willing to share a part of his benefit with you, then that shows, that keeps you also on the treadmill and saying, how am I going to add that extra value so that I can make my own activity sustainable? Then you will keep constantly delivering extra value to the farmer. So my suggestion is to build in that sustainability and see how you can use farm facilitators to become something more than just farm facilitators. How they can provide comprehensive solutions to the farmers in terms of mechanization, in terms of not just any one crop. They should become comprehensive agriculture consultants to the farmers, providing comprehensive solutions, integrated solutions to the entire farming sector. Now, the job of us, the partners in this project, is to see how we can enable, support the farm facilitators to play this role. Give them the necessary support. Give them constant upgradation of knowledge and enable the farm facilitators to reach out to the farmers and actually provide solutions that are relevant to the farmers. That is where ICRISAT and all the partners come in terms of equipping our farm facilitators to play an effective role to the farmers. And as long as we are going to just follow the age-old method of we pushing, I don't know what value we are actually going to deliver to the farmers. We will never know. We can claim for ourselves that I have delivered this and that, but where is the barometer? What is the acceptable, transparent way I am going to measure the contribution I am making to the farmer? So hence, these are some thoughts that should be kept in mind, I feel, when we are going forward with Bhuchetana Plus. Our partners should generate the necessary knowledge, the capability, and hand it over to perhaps the farm facilitators who can then deliver it. Our role is to constantly keep generating the knowledge that may be useful to the farmers. So this is as far as Bhuchetana Plus is concerned. And we also have a lot of, from the government of Karnataka Agriculture Department, we also have, I was telling Dr. Dar and his team that we want to be a bit more demanding customers. We have a lot of need. There is a lot that needs to be done as well. We also want to see how we can nurture and support agribusiness in Karnataka so that a lot of the things that we are not able to provide as a government, maybe entrepreneurs can come and provide those solutions and fill the gap that exists. So the government of Karnataka wants to be a facilitator for a lot of agribusinesses. You have set up your incubator here, and we want to learn from that experience and perhaps see how we can multiply those incubators in in Karnataka. We are also working on the soil and maps. Along with that, we also want to map the crops in Karnataka, because a lot of delivery of our government services are getting skewed because we don't have accurate mapping of the crops and on any given day in Karnataka. If the crop data is available, we can specifically target a lot of government programs and bring in a lot of efficiency in that. So we also want to explore to see how if the crop map can be prepared, and based on that we can evolve our own policies in that direction. I'm also glad that you are bringing in a lot of technology into this. This Krishi Vani is a good beginning. It has got a lot of potential. I just want to share one information, that interaction I had with an executive who was a consultant to ITC. Most of us don't know how much data is actually getting transacted in every village every day. Lot of these, pan vendors, lot of the cigarette vendors in the village, a lot of these people who are selling knickknacks in the village are actually transmitting huge quantities of data every day. Now 50% of data is being used for one specific purpose, and I won't tell you what that is for, but still a lot of data is transmitting from them in the form of downloads from one cellular phone to the next cellular phone in every village. This is happening. Now this is and it is people in the village who are absorbing a lot of this data, meaning downloads basically of videos, of all kinds of things that people, perhaps uneducated people, but they are very easily downloading it from one cellular phone to the other. And the guy who is vending cigarettes and other things in the village is probably collecting a small fee for this. Now, here is how we assume that people are incapable of absorbing technology, but there are a lot of technologies available which can be very easily absorbed by even the uneducated people. Now, you have made a beginning in that direction of voice transmission. But I'm sure that can be very quickly escalated into other forms of communication as well, with short videos and what have you. You can empower your farm facilitators and they can transmit that data to the farmers. So there are a lot of technological solutions which are available. They must be incorporated into our extension activities, I feel, and there is a lot of scope to do that. And having said all this, I feel there is a lot of capability within Indians. We have assumed that they are helpless and hapless, and hence they need to be always, we should be giving and they should be receiving. I feel our role as the government is to actually unleash the talent that exists within the people, and our entire approach should be in that direction. I think if we unleash the capability our farmers have, then we will see a dramatic change in the rural landscape. And also, one word that I work with multiple agencies within, and I've been working as an MLA. Also, when I was working in the party, we were working with various multiple agencies. Similarly, here also we are working with multiple agencies. One thing that we must always keep in mind is that every day there is something new we can and we must learn. And when we go to the fields, there is definitely something that we can learn from the farmers as well. Most often, we assume that we know a lot of things and others should just listen to us. Especially we politicians are very good at it. We think we know everything there is to know and everybody else should listen to us. So that attitude begins with people like us. But also I've seen this in universities. They think they know everything. But ultimately, until the farmer, as I said earlier, certifies that you have contributed to them, I'm not so sure. But that point aside, please keep in mind that every day there is something new that we can learn from the people we work with. so that that should come back to your laboratory, and we must go back to the people with appropriate answers. So we must keep our minds constantly open for improvement within us, for modification of our own stated positions, so that we can bring greater value. And having said all this, we are making a great beginning in our journey forward, and I'm very optimistic, like our Chief Secretary, that this program is going to have a significant impact on the ground, and we must be looking at growth rates of 7-8%. Otherwise, the declining share of agriculture in the GDP will only accelerate, which means that we are only further pushing people in agriculture into poverty. If their share of the GDP per capita is going down rapidly, it only means that they are becoming more and more poor. And if general economy is growing at 7-8%, and we are not growing at that rate, then that means we are individually, each farmer is getting impoverished in the process. So we must aim to 7-8% of growth within agriculture as well, and I'm sure Bhuchetana Plus is going to do it. I once again thank all our partners. ನಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೈತರು ಸಹ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರ, ಬಳ್ಳಾರಿಯಿಂದ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೋಲಾರದಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸಹ ನಾನು ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳಿ ಬಯಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಇದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಇರೋದು ರೈತರಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ. ರೈತರು ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇರೋ ಬೆಳೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಉತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಬೇಕು. ಅವ್ರು ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇರೋ ಬೆಳೆ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದ್ರೆ ತಾನೇ ತಾನಾಗಿ ರೈತರ ಕೈಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಆದಾಯ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಆದಾಯ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ತಾನೇ ತಾನಾಗಿ ಕೃಷಿನೂ ಸಹ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ರೈತರು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ರೂಪಿಸಿದೀವಿ. ಇದು ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಎಲ್ಲ ದೊಡ್ಡವ್ರು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ಆದ್ರೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಿಜವಾಗಿ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಶಸ್ಸು ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವಾಗ ನಿಮ್ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಆದಾಯ ಬರ್ತದೆ ಆವಾಗ ಇದೆಲ್ಲಾನು ಸಹ ಯಶಸ್ಸು ಆದಂಗ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆ ದಿಕ್ಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಯಶಸ್ಸು ಸಿಗಲಿ, ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಸಹಕಾರನು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಅನ್ನೋ ಮಾತನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿ, ಅಗೇನ್ thank you all for the patient hearing, and let us keep the partnership going, and I hope this program will bring more and more success to the farmers of Karnataka.